why are they dying? And they showed me a x-ray. He said a 22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lung, and we can probably get it out, may be able to get it and save the life. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body.
Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. Let's talk about this. Joe Biden, while in one of his pressers on the White House lawn, made some statements that, quite honestly, that are out of touch with reality, out of touch with the Constitution, and out of touch with truth. Now, I'm going to play the whole thing, and I'm going to bear with it because you got to hear everything you have to say because it's actually relevant. Because a lot of it, I just feel like whoever's giving him information should be fired because that's a paycheck they could save. Because a lot of things he says were historically inaccurate, and I've done a video on this before concerning this issue of him making up falsehoods about what the Second Amendment was actually about. Well, let's listen to him here.
Sir, do you think there is anything different in how Republicans will approach the gun reform question now, given the circumstances?
Since I haven't spoken to them, I don't know, but my guess is that yes, I think they're going to have to take a hard look.
Is there one element? Is it age? Is it red flag? Is it some component that you think could be most successful now?
Well, that's hard to say because I've not been negotiating with any of the Republicans yet. And I deliberately did not engage in a debate about that with any Republicans when we were down consoling families in Texas. So I don't know what is the most, how far it goes. I know that it makes no sense to be able to purchase something that can fire up to 300 rounds. I know it makes, and I know what happened when we had rational action before, back in the Crime Bill, which was a law that got passed. It did significantly cut down mass murder. And so there's only one reason for something that can fire, 100 shots. I mean, and I'll just conclude with this. Look, when I first started doing hearings on the issue of what rational gun laws should be, it was during a period when I was a senator and the death rate was going up. Not that many more people were being shot, but the death rate was up. I went, I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it was Connecticut Hospital in New York, whatever the largest trauma hospital is. And I sat with a trauma doc. And I asked him, I said, what's the difference? Why are so many people, not that many more people were being shot? This is now 20 years ago, or 25 years. I said, why are they dying? And they showed me a x-ray. He said a 22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lung, and we can probably get it out, may be able to get it and save the life. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. So the idea of these high caliber weapons is there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of about self-protection, hunting. I mean, and remember, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, was never absolute. You couldn't buy a cannon when the Second Amendment was passed. You couldn't go out and purchase a lot of weapons. And those who, not many are saying it anymore, but there was a while there where people were saying that, the tree of liberty is water with the blood of patriots, and what we have to do is have to be able to take on the government when they're wrong. Well, to do that, you need an F-15, you need a Abrams tank. I mean, so it's just, I think things have gotten so bad that everybody's getting more rational about it. At least that's my hope and prayer. I have a Gold Star mom in there.
Sir, I know you want Congress to act, but do you believe as president you have a particular responsibility now?
Oh, I know I have to, but there's a Constitution. I can't dictate this stuff. I can do the things I've done, and any executive action I can take, I'll continue to take. But I can't outlaw a weapon. I can't, change the background check. I can't do that. And my whole career I've been doing it. Persuasion, yeah. But there's been a few things happening. I know you're good at it. You've had to travel.
McConnell has directed Senator Cornyn to search for a compromise. Do you really think there's something there, or are they just making noise?
I don't know, but I think there's a realization on the part of rational Republicans, and I consider McConnell a rational Republican, and Cornyn is as well. I think there's a recognition on their part that they can't continue like this. You can't do this. I've got to go in. I got the Gold Star fan.
Now, you saw that. You heard that. I'll start with the fact he talks about cannons could not be owned by private citizens. I have done a video on this, and I present in that video factual, documented evidence that private citizens own firearms. I'm not going to get into it, but the existence of the privateers during the Revolutionary and Civil War and the French Indian War, their existence during that time proves unequivocally that private citizens owned cannons. Unequivocally, without doubt. Yet he keeps saying it repeatedly, and despite the fact it has been debunked by people and professionals, people with degrees and with all the education have repeatedly debunked that idea. But for him to say it's not absolute is dangerous language. When you start saying that an amendment to the Constitution is not absolute, so if the second is not absolute, what does that say for the rest of them? Freedom of speech is not absolute. Freedom of religion is not absolute. Women's right to vote, freeing up the slaves, right to be safe and secure in one's own home, not to incriminate oneself. You're saying that all these things are not absolute? That is dangerous language. But let's go on here. Of course, we're going to have to look at this whole notion that this is what he stated, that 9mm bullets will blow the lung out. Now, it's not so much that's an idiotic statement. Forget about that part, but listen to what he's saying. He's claiming that 9mm is now a high caliber. What in God's name that means, I don't know. It's the first time I've ever heard that kind of thing, high caliber. But here's the problem. He is saying that 9mm is somehow, why does any person need a 9mm to protect themselves? That's his rationale, but go look deeper into what he's saying. Once again, his handlers are feeding him information. If 9mm is considered high caliber, 338, 357 SIG, 357, 40, 45, 44 Magnum, 44 Special, should I keep going? What about those calibers? If 9mm is a high caliber, all calibers after that, obviously, he's not saying it out loud, but that's exactly what he's hinting at here when he says this. 9mm being a high caliber. That's what he's hinting at. Well, if we can say 9mm is a high caliber, then everything after that is also high caliber. And why would anybody need that to protect themselves with? That's what he's saying. Read underneath what he's trying to do here. But here's an article here. That is Fox News, and it's Biden slammed for claiming there's no rational basis for 9mm bullets. We're banning handguns now. And Biden also repeated his claim that the Second Amendment is not absolute on Memorial Day. That's just, to me, is dangerous language, because that opens up the door to any amendment not being absolute. But President Biden faced a new round of backlash on Twitter for his comments on gun control legislation and 9mm ammo on Memorial Day. Speaking with reporters outside the White House, Biden told his efforts to work on gun control legislation with Republicans in Congress following the deadly Uvalde school shooting While Biden admitted that his executive options are limited, he suggested that 9mm bullets had no rational basis to be used for self-defense. Now, remember, 9mm is the most popular round in the country, outpacing every other caliber as far as that goes. And repeating his backwards statement, the .22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lungs and we can get it out. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. The idea of a high caliber weapon, there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of self-protection hunting, Biden said. Duh. This is a man who's never hunted a deer. What are you gonna do, shoot it with the .22? No. What is that, 30-30. 30-30 has taken more deer in this country than any other caliber. But he also added, and remember, in the Constitution, the Second Amendment was never absolute. You couldn't buy a cannon when the Second Amendment was passed. That's a lie. You couldn't go out and purchase a lot of weapons. According to the ATF's annual Firearms Manufacturing Export Report, pistols produced in 9mm comprise of approximately 56.8% of new pistols produced in 2019. That's a lot. Making up about 42% of pistols produced between 2010 and 2020. Various Twitter users pointed out the popularity of 9mm bullets on, 9mm ammunition on Monday while attacking Biden. We're banning handguns now. Real Clear Investigation senior writer Mark Hemingway. Washington Examiner reporter Jerry Dunleavy tweeted, Biden is targeting the most popular caliber in America. No, he's actually targeting 9mm up. Try to see what he's saying here. It's not just 9mm. He's targeting everything from 9mm up. Okay. The Spectator contributing editor Stephen Miller wrote, going after 9mm means going after handguns, not just rifles. Have fun. Exactly. So, Biden has frequently claimed that the Second Amendment is not absolute, though the White House has insisted he is not planning to do anything about the Second Amendment itself. In addition, he has often repeated the debunked claim that people were barred from owning cannons when the amendment was passed. That has been debunked many times over. Biden's comments came one day after the President and First Lady visited Uvalde, Texas, to meet with the families of victim survivors of the Robb Elementary School shooting that killed 19 students and 2 teachers. He has since repeatedly called for more gun control legislation. Now, I did a video on this, the selective outrage. You did not go to Waukesha, Wisconsin after 5 people were killed there by a man with the SUV. He did not go. And I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to bring up that video, play it again to remind you why he did not go to Waukesha. Here, this is Jen Psaki.
And then last one, since the president said that this administration is monitoring the situation in Waukesha closely, it has been revealed by prosecutors that the assailant swerved his truck side to side as part of an intentional act to run over as many people as possible. 6 people are dead. Some children remain hospitalized. Why hasn't the president visited the members of this Christmas parade attack?
Well, I would say first, as you saw the president convey last week, our hearts go out to this community, to the people in Waukesha, that we've been in touch, obviously, with officials there, and we're all watching as people are recovering, and this is such a difficult time of year for this to happen. It's difficult any time. Obviously, any president going to visit a community requires a lot of assets, requires taking their resources, and it's not something that I have a trip previewed at this point in time, but we remain in touch with local officials, and certainly our hearts are with the community as they've gone through such a difficult time. Go ahead.
So for the American public that knows that there's...
You heard that. They did not go because of logistics. They did not go to Waukesha because of logistics. It's a legit argument because every time the president goes somewhere, resources are used up to circumvent around him and to protect him. But just remember, he was in Buffalo less than 12 hours after that shooting. He went to Robb Elementary once again within a day. He was there. He did not go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. He did not go there. He is picking and choosing what lives matter. But I'll go even deeper into this because I want to bring up this thing here. I'm going to play this video here. This is him speaking at the White House. And listen to what he's saying here.
Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not absolute. This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children. It's about protecting families. It's about protecting whole communities. It's about protecting our freedom to go to school, to a grocery store, to a church, without being shot and killed. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Strengthen background checks. Enact safe storage law and red flag laws. Repeal the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from liability. Address the mental health crisis, deepening the trauma of gun violence and as a consequence of that violence. These are rational, common sense measures. And if Congress fails, I believe this time a majority of the American people won't give up either. I believe the majority of you will act.
Once again, you're hearing the same talking points. The Second Amendment is not absolute. You could not own a cannon. It's nonsense. It's all been debunked crap. But when asked whether or not he planned on hardening schools and bringing more security to the schools, this is his new first woman of color, LGBT, immigrant press spokesperson, because those things are more important for that job than actually knowing what the hell you're talking about. But listen to what she had to say concerning that specific issue of hardening the schools.
When it comes to schools, and I don't know what he said specifically about schools. I know there's been conversation about hardening schools. That is not something that he believes in. He believes that we should be able to give teachers the resources to be able to do the job that they're meant to do.
So you heard that. Biden has no intentions of bringing more security to schools, but he wants more gun control. It's just this backwards idea, a backwards way of thinking that is causing these problems to keep happening. I'm going to go off, in my opinion, I'm going to go a little off the deep end here. I'm going to say this because it's been something that I've been noticing quite often lately. I honestly believe they want these things to keep happening. Because every time they happen, this is the foothold they can have or use to get more gun control. They're not doing anything about violence. They're just talking about gun control. Remember, he did not go to Waukesha. Why not? Because that was not a firearm. If that guy had used a firearm to kill 5 people and injure 48 others, he would be there screaming gun control. He is not interested in solving the violence problem. He is only interested in limiting the Second Amendment among people who follow the rules. So I'll say it again. They want these things to keep happening because they do not make legislation that actually helps to fix. You heard his P.A.N. literally state that they are not interested in any kind of security at the schools or even improving it. But I'm going to bring up this New York Post article because there's a statement here. This was back in 2019 at a fundraiser. Okay, so this is something he's been bouncing around in whatever he's got going on up there. But he's been bouncing this idea around because 2019, Biden's statements about 9mm pistols are in keeping with his rhetoric before entering the White House. At a 2019 fundraiser in Seattle, for example, then candidate Biden asked his audience, why should we allow people to have military-style weapons, including pistols with 9mm bullets, and can hold 10 or more rounds? Okay? And he also, it's just going back over the same thing, so I'm not going to get into all this. Democrats have always been, they claim to be the purveyor of rights and democracy. Yet, with this issue here, they're letting you know up front what their intentions are. There's a Democrat, Mondaire Jones. Now, listen to what he has to say about this whole issue.
You will not stop us from advancing the Protecting Our Kids Act today. You will not stop us from passing it in the House next week, and you will not stop us there. If the filibuster obstructs us, we will abolish it. If the Supreme Court objects, we will expand it, and we will not rest until we have taken weapons of war out of circulation in our communities. Each and every day, we will do whatever it takes to end gun violence, whatever it takes.
You heard that. Now, he was confronted by a reporter after the fact, and listen again how he starts to backpedal a little.
You want weapons of war out of circulation. What is a weapon of war to you?
Assault weapons. Assault weapons.
So is that like semi-automatic handguns and rifles?
Semi-automatic weapons would qualify as assault weapons. And these are things that should be banned.
Almost take almost every gun out of people's hands. I mean,
true. I mean, handguns, for example, would not qualify under what I just described. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
You heard him say that. Now, we're going to take away all semi-automatic weapons, but what about semi-automatic handguns? Well, we're not talking about handguns. Well, they are saying the quiet part out loud, and it's dangerous. But you heard him. They claim to be the purveyors of democracy. This is what the Democrats tell you. And here is this Democrat literally telling you, if we don't get our way, we're going to abolish the filibuster, which is a democratic process. We're going to pack the court to get the results that we want. These are the people who claim to be, the holders of democracy, about to do some real authoritarian nonsense to get what they want. So basically what's happening here is the Democrats are rushing as quickly as they can to put gun control legislation in, because they're going to get the collective behinds handed to them come the midterms, and they know it. And they're trying to lessen the damage by having people go out and vote with their emotions. Because I guarantee you, during the midterms, all you're going to hear is Republicans don't care about children because they won't vote for the gun control. They want you to forget about inflation, forget about the border, forget about Ukraine, forget about Afghanistan, forget about gas price, forget the fact that you're paying, I actually spent $75 to fill the tank on my Jeep Liberty, $75. They don't want you to think about any of that. They want you to think about this here. Republicans don't care about children. And that's what they want you to vote on, because they have nothing else, because they have just made a complete mess of things. But here, and I usually don't do this, but I want to bring this up because this guy kind of nails it. There's Spike Cohen on Twitter put up this tweet. It should be over my shoulder here. The U.S. government has been arming Ukraine because they're allies. The U.S. government has been seeking to disarm Russia because they're opponents. In totally unrelated news, the U.S. government seeks to disarm you. You should worry. You should definitely worry when people with guns start to tell you that you can't have guns, and we use those guns to enforce that rule. That's exactly what the Second Amendment was about. It was to protect you from government. Exactly what it was written for. Democide is the biggest loss of life as one individual category. Democide is death by government. We can look around the world throughout history, and we've seen it over and over and over again. Turkey, Armenia, China, Russia. We can go on and on. But I want to leave out, I'm going to end this with this one here. I'm going to read this quote. This is from, looks like it was from the legislature, but I'm going to read this here. During my 12.5 years as a member of this body, I have never believed that additional gun control or federal registration of guns would reduce crime. I am convinced that a criminal who wants a firearm can get one through illegal, non-traceable, unregistered sources with or without gun control. The person who said that is none other than Joe Biden, 1985. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get notified the next time the video goes live. And I will see you on the next one.